Welcome to today's Explainer. We're looking at a device that is absolutely making some massive waves in the tech world right now. Let's be honest, the word ultra gets thrown around a lot these days, doesn't it? It kind of feels like every tech company just slaps that label on their devices to, well, charge a premium. But today, we're going to dive deep into the source data to see how the newly announced POCO F8 Ultra actually earns that title. We'll break down the raw specs, the engineering, and the real-world features to see what's actually under the hood. So it really begs the question, what actually makes a smartphone ultra? I mean, is it just marketing fluff? Just an extra camera lens and a shiny glass back? Or is it a collection of hardware and software working together to genuinely, fundamentally change your everyday user experience? Keep that in the back of your mind as we walk through the data today, because honestly, the information we're about to look at makes a profoundly compelling case for the latter. Let's kick things off with a number that's going to instantly grab the attention of literally anyone who follows smartphone performance. 3,944,934. That is the POCO F8 Ultra's Antutu V11 benchmark score, straight from POCO's internal labs. To put that into perspective, this is absolute sheer dominance. I mean, a score flirting with the 4 million mark means we're not just talking about a fast phone anymore. We're talking about a pocket-sized supercomputer. But, a benchmark score is just a number. How does it actually pull that off? Well, that brings us to Section 1, the engine, unmatched performance. Okay, let's dive into this raw computing power driving that massive score. Under the hood, the POCO F8 Ultra is rocking the next-generation Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 mobile platform. This chip is built on a cutting-edge 3-nanometer process. What that actually means for you is that the transistors are packed incredibly close together, so data travels faster while sipping way less energy. It's got this all-big-core CPU architecture with a max clock speed punching over 4.6 gigahertz. When you compare that to previous generations, we're looking at a solid 20% boost in CPU performance, and this is absolutely crucial, a 35% improvement in power efficiency. So the big takeaway here is that this phone effortlessly chews through incredibly high-load scenarios, like intense 3D gaming or heavy multitasking, without just instantly draining your battery. But hey, all that power generates heat, right? To combat this, POCO uses what they call liquid-cooled technology, specifically their ice loop system. Now, I know that sounds like a fancy marketing term, but structurally, it's actually fascinating. It's a massive 6,700 square millimeter 3D dual-channel, dual-layer cooling architecture. And what this actually does in practice is optimize the heat transfer pathways. It physically redirects the thermal flow completely away from the phone's grip zone. So, if you're in the middle of an intense hour-long gaming session, all that heat is managed by the massive surface area, like a giant heatsink, instead of just baking directly into your hands. A real game changer. Moving on to Section 2, Visuals and Gaming Supremacy. Let's transition from the internal engine to see how all that power builds into the sensory experiences on your screen. Because obviously, all that engine power needs a canvas to shine on. And this brilliantly illustrates why stability is true power. We aren't just looking at average frame rates here. We're looking at the 1% low frame rates during a heavy load 2-hour gaming test at 120 frames per second. That 1% low metric, that represents the absolute worst moments during performance drops. The stutters you feel when a huge explosion goes off on screen. Well, while another flagship phone dropped down to 73 FPS, the POCO F8 Ultra maintained a highly stable 89.7 FPS. Thanks to its Vision Boost D8 dedicated graphics chipset and Wild Boost optimization, it literally predicts computing demand and intervenes to prevent frame drops before they even happen. No way you're lagging with that. The display technology itself is also completely revamped. The POCO F8 Ultra debuts a global M1 display panel using POCO Hyper RGB. Compared to a traditional 2K OLED screen, Hyper RGB utilizes a full RGB subpixel structure. That means it gives an equivalent resolution of 1.0, compared to 0.8 on those older 2K panels. So not only does this 6.85-inch screen look noticeably sharper, but the new red luminous material in that M10 panel actually improves luminous efficiency. That reduces display power consumption by a massive 19.5%. Which brings us to this very, very bright number, 3,500. That is the peak brightness of the screen in nits, covering 25% of the display area when it triggers. What this translates to in the real world is that you will never ever struggle to see your 6.9-inch screen outdoors. Even if you're standing in the most intense direct sunlight, it's practically a flashlight. All right, Section 3, Powering Up, Massive Battery. Of course, all this computing power, the high frame rates, a 3,500 nit screen, it all means absolutely nothing if the phone dies by lunchtime, right? Sheer endurance is key. So POCO packed a massive 6,500 milliamp hour battery inside this device. This is the largest battery capacity ever in the POCO F series. And it's not just your standard battery, it's a high energy density silicon carbon dual cell battery. It's designed to be incredibly durable, actually retaining at least 80% of its total capacity even after 1,600 charge cycles. That means it'll easily last you for years of prolonged use. Bridging the gap from the lab right into your daily life, that massive capacity gives you an estimated 15.14 hours of continuous use. And when you finally do need to plug in, you aren't going to be waiting long. It supports a 100-watt wired hypercharge, getting the phone from 0 to 100% in just 38 minutes. It also supports 50-watt wireless charging. Oh, and get this. If a friend's phone is dying, the F8 Ultra supports up to 22.5-watt wired reverse charging. So it essentially turns your smartphone into a high-speed power bank for everyone else's devices. Let's jump to Section 4, Pro-Level Photography System. Let's pivot here and focus on how this phone captures the world around you. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is the consistency. You know how so many phone manufacturers give you one great main camera and then slap on 2 weak low-resolution secondary cameras just to make the back of the phone look busy? Well, POCO went with 3 flagship 50-megapixel sensors. You have the main camera with a massive 1.131-inch Light Fusion 950 sensor for capturing incredible dynamic lighting. You have an ultra-wide, and you have a dedicated 50-megapixel periscope telephoto lens. Plus, both the main and the telephoto lenses feature optical image stabilization, which completely eliminates that annoying handshake blur. And that 50-megapixel periscope lens? That's a first for the POCO F8 Ultra. It completely redefines how you shoot subjects far away. You start with a pure 5x optical zoom. That's actual physical glass moving to bring you closer without pixelating the image. Then it steps into a 10x lossless zoom and pushes all the way out to a 20x ultra zoom. It literally pulls distant beauty right in front of you without losing that crisp, professional clarity. It's like having a telescope in your pocket. Moving to Section 5, Build, Audio, and Connectivity. Moving right along, let's look at the tactile and auditory features. Because let's face it, a phone can't just be fast. It has to be built to survive the real world. The durability profile here is excellent. It features a solid IP68 rating, meaning it's certified against dust and submersion in up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. The body utilizes a high-strength aluminum alloy frame and this really sleek, crack-resistant glass fiber back. But the absolute standout feature here has to be the audio. Co-tuned by Bose, it has a 2.1-channel audio system. It features symmetrical stereo speakers, and, this is wild, an ultra-large independent subwoofer built right into the mobile phone. Yes, you heard me right, an actual subwoofer in your pocket. This delivers deep bass and a wide soundstage you almost never ever hear from a smartphone speaker. Connectivity also gets a massive upgrade. Alongside their Surge T1S and T1 Plus chips that boost your cellular, Wi-Fi, and GPS signals, they've introduced Show Me offline communication. This allows you to seamlessly make voice calls over a distance of 1 kilometer without any cellular network or Wi-Fi connection whatsoever. I mean, for hikers, people traveling off-grid, or if you're just caught in a temporary dead zone, this feature is absolutely game-changing. Finally, Section 6, the AI-powered ecosystem. Today, incredible hardware needs brilliant software to guide it, right? And the F8 Ultra runs on the new Xiaomi HyperOS 3. This OS literally transforms the phone into a multimodal personal assistant. You get tools like the AI interpreter, providing real-time translation during phone calls or online meetings. You get AI search, which understands natural language queries, and AI dynamic wallpapers that generate super cool animations from static photos. But it's also deeply integrated with Google. It features Gemini Live, so you can converse with Google's AI in real time, and Circle to Search, where you can simply circle anything on your screen, text, an image, a video, and instantly search for it without even leaving the app you're currently in. It's so incredibly fast. So we've looked at the data, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, the Hyper RGB display, a massive 6,500 milliamp hour battery, a 2.1-channel Bose sound system with a literal subwoofer, and a whole suite of real-time AI tools. It leaves us with this final thought to consider. Is your current phone holding you back? When you see how all these components are engineered to work together perfectly, it really challenges what we should expect from our daily devices. So, are you ready to experience true ultra power? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this breakdown helped clarify exactly what is going on inside the POCO F8 Ultra. See you next time.